Hello everyone and welcome back to the Beatles Forever, the Beatles on this date. Let's see what's been going on around the date of October 29th. The following stories come from the Beatles Bible. The Royal Mint issues a limited edition John Lennon 5-pound coin. This is dated Friday the 29th of October 2010. John Lennon has been immortalized on a limited edition coin by the Royal Mint in the United Kingdom after being named as the winner of a public vote. The commemorative 5-pound coin is on sale for £44.99 and is the latest in the Royal Mint's Great Britain series. Only 5,000 of the coins will be made and are issued as an alternate tender. A one-off 24-karat gold version of the coin will also be given to the John Lennon estate. Lennon won by a landslide with 27,874 of the 30,267 votes cast. 92% nominated him. He came ahead of Jane Austen, Emily Parkhurst, John Logie Baird, Douglas Bader, and Sir Walter Raleigh, following fan campaigns on Facebook and Twitter. The singer joins William Shakespeare, Sir Winston Churchill, Charles Darwin, and Florence Nightingale in the Great Britain series. It's a pleasure to reveal that in a recent Royal Mint vote, John Lennon was chosen to appear on the latest Great Britain's 5-pound coin. Inspiring, controversial, passionate, and complex, he is without a doubt one of the great musical giants of the 20th century. He left a legacy that goes far beyond the global reach of his music. His powerful message of peace and love, which manifests through his artistic talent, continues to uplift and inspire us. An instantly recognizable portrait of John Lennon features on the reverse with the cameo inset bearing the strings of his guitar. Struck in sterling silver to prove quality, the coin comes in a splendid display case, complete with a certificate of authenticity guaranteeing the specifications of the coin and paying tribute to the genius of John Lennon. This is courtesy of Issue Alderney, Royal Mint. The next story is the U.S. album release of Choba BCCCP by Paul McCartney. This happened on a Tuesday, the 29th of October, 1991. Paul McCartney's seventh solo album, Choba BCCCP, was released in the United States on the 29th of October, 1991. Also known as the Russian album, Choba BCCP was initially released just in the USSR on the 31st of October, 1988, but 2 years later was issued internationally. It came out on the 30th of September, 1991 in the UK. The album was a collection of cover versions, including several from the early years of rock and roll. The songs dated from the 1940s to the 1960s, plus Midnight Special, a traditional folk song dating from the early 20th century. The Soviet Union's only record label, Melodia, was granted permission to press 400,000 copies of Choba BCCCP. However, the label initially manufactured just 50,000 copies of the album, which originally contained 11 songs, 2 fewer than had originally been specified by McCartney's company, MPL. The first pressings had a yellow rear cover and a red Melodia labels. The album went straight to the top of the Moskovsky Komsomolets chart. In 1998, a second version of the album was released in the USSR and saw the addition of the 2 songs Summertime and I'm Gonna Be a Wheel Someday. Approximately 350,000 copies of the second pressing were made, which had white Melodia labels and MPL logos, as well as the white rear cover with sleeve notes by McCartney and NME journalist Roy Carr. Choba BCCP was initially released only in the Soviet Union, and exported and bootleg copies became commonplace in other countries. MPL also imported a number of copies, which were sold through the official Paul McCartney fan club, the only official outlet in the West. Following the USSR's collapse in 1991, the 13-track version of Choba BCCCP was released worldwide on cassette tape and compact disc. The album reached number 63 in the UK and number 109 in the USA. Its sales were likely hindered by dedicated McCartney fans having already bought imported versions. The compact disc edition of the international release added a 14th song, I'm in Love Again, another song which had previously been released on the CD single, This One. The next story, U.S. single release Mind Games by John Lennon. This happened on a Monday, the 29th of October, 1973. John Lennon's single Mind Games was released in the USA on the 29th of October, 1973. The B-side was Meat City. Both songs also appeared on the Mind Games album, released on the 2nd of November, 1973, in the U.S. Mind Game was the only single released from the album. It was not a success, peaking at number 18 in the United States and 26 in the United Kingdom. The seeming orchestra on it, just me playing 3 notes on a slide guitar, and the middle 8 is reggae. Trying to explain to American musicians what reggae was in 1973 was pretty hard, but it's basically a reggae middle 8 if you listen to it. John Lennon said this in 1980. Next we have Mixing Well, Well, Well by John Lennon. This happened on a Thursday, October the 29th, 1970. It was done at Studio 3, EMI Studios, Abbey Road. Producers John Lennon, Yoko Ono. Engineers Phil McDonald and Andy Stevens. The 13th and final studio session for John Lennon's debut solo album, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band, took place on 29th of October, 1970. This session came 4 days after the album was considered finished. Lennon was unhappy with the mix for Well, 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 made for 24th of October, and arranged a final session to complete the song. The song was then complete, and the mix was added to the album master tapes. John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band, was released on 11 December 1970. Next story, mixing Hey Bulldog, All Together Now, All You Need Is Love, Only a Northern Song. This happened on a Tuesday, the 29th of October, 1968. It was done at Studios 3, Control Room, EMI Studios, Abbey Road engineer Jeff Emmerich. The final Beatles studio session in 1968 was for the remaining studio mixes for the Yellow Submarine soundtrack album. The session took place without George Martin or any of the Beatles being present. Balance engineer Jeff Emmerich and tape operator Graham Kirby were the studio staff present, and the session took place from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. 3 mixes of Hey Bulldog were the first to be made, followed by one of All Together Now. All You Need Is Love proved more problematic, requiring 6 attempts. Only a Northern Song, meanwhile, was a mock stereo, or duphonic mix, created by taking Mono Remix 6 from the 21st of April, 1967, and slashing the bass frequencies from one channel and the treble from the other. The reason for this was presumably since the mono mix had proved so problematic, the song had been recorded using 2 4-track tape machines, which rarely stayed in time during playback. Although the duphonic mix of Only a Northern Song was released on the 1969 studio edition of Yellow Submarine album for the 2009 remastered edition, it was presented in mono. Filming Magical Mystery Tour. This was Sunday, the 29th of October, 1967. Another scene was filmed for the Magical Mystery Tour television special on this day in Battersea in South London. Ringo Starr and Aunt Jessie were filmed arguing while walking up Theatre Street and turning into Lavender Hill, where they were greeted by Jolly Jimmy Johnson, the courier, and Miss Wendy Winters, the hostess, before boarding the coach. Then we have the recording and mixing We Can Work It Out, Day Tripper. This was done on Friday, the 29th of October, 1965, at Studio 2, EMI Studios, Abbey Road, producer George Martin, engineer Norman Smith. The Beatles completed We Can Work It Out on this day, following the work done on the 20th of October, 1965, from 2 to 4 p.m. and involved a single overdub onto take 2. Paul McCartney double-tracked his lead vocals and John Lennon simultaneously recorded a second harmonium part. A mono mixing session took place in the control room of Studio 2 from 4 to 5 p.m. 2 versions of We Can Work It Out were made, the first for the single and the second for the Granada television special, The Music of Lennon and McCartney, filmed on 1 and 2 November in Manchester. Once these were completed, 2 mono mixes of Day Tripper were made for the same purposes. The mix for the single replaced the earlier one created on the 25th of October, 1965. The last story is mixing with the Beatles album. This was done on Tuesday, the 29th of October, 1963, Studio 3, Control Room, EMI Studios, Abbey Road, producer George Martin, engineer Norman Smith. In 1963, stereo was secondary in importance to mono, which is why George Martin was asked to hurriedly mix every track with the Beatles for stereo in a 3-hour session. Interestingly, Martin worked on the songs in the order that he devised for the album's track listing. It Won't Be Long, All I've Gotta Do, All My Loving, Don't Bother Me, Little Child, Till There Was You, Please Mr. Postman, Roll Over Beethoven, Hold Me Tight, You Really Got a Hold on Me, I Want to Be Your Man, Devil in Her Heart, Not a Second Time, and Money, That's What I Want. Only the latter song required more work, which was carried out on the following day. So I'm going to end the video here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so, it would help the channel to grow, as well as giving it a thumbs up. It's all a great help. And if you haven't clicked on the notification bell, if you could do that, it lets you know when a video is posted. More importantly, I want to wish everyone a good day, and tune in again soon for another episode of The Beatles Forever, The Beatles on This Date. Thank you. Bye.